Hey, this is Chris here. Before we start the episode and you hear the commercial for Anchor that you hear at the beginning of each of these, just wanted to give a shout out here locally in St. Louis to my friends whose businesses are all opening up and who've all supported us at some point or another. Taco Circus over at the foot of the hill neighborhood. Taco Circus is open on the inside. Their new menu is dope. It's slimmed down, but it's all still the great food, same great food, right? It's a simplified summer menu. You know how it is. They've got an outdoor patio that kicks ass. You want to sit out there. You want to order some tacos. They got you covered. My favorite thing right now is the 3-meat plate. Order it. It's 3 different meats, just like it says. Crow's Nest in downtown Maplewood. Stop in. They're doing lunch. They're doing dinner. They're open late. They've got drinks. They're still building that new patio outside. It'd be weird if they were building the patio inside. Give them a call. Ask Kenny, one of the owners there. Ask him when Metal Brunch is coming back. He loves to be asked that. That's the Crow's Nest in downtown Maplewood. And obviously our good friends at the Crack Fox who are hosting our monthly live show. If you're in the St. Louis area, patronize those businesses and any of the other great bars and restaurants that are opening. It's been a hard year. Spread some love. If you got the money to go out, go out. Anyway, all right, here's the commercial for Anchor.
The day the donuts disappeared from the quick trip, I knew we were in trouble. A fearless misfit tried to warn you. When you were trying to be cool, no lying, just defying all society's rules. God, politics, drugs, sex, and yes, y'all, TED Talks from Jesus. You worship Les Paul, or maybe it's Prince. Ever since I got a new religion, I'm not so damn consumed with consumerism. Ain't it time we examine the facts, man? I stay sharp like the claws on Hugh Jackman, they real. And I feel like a fucking hero. Duking her trunk, but don't touch De Niro. Living on the edge, taking acid at a kid's party. Sweating bullets full of caffeine, that shit's hardly a day's work. And I'm talking my shit, cause I used to have it worse than Oliver Twist, dick pics, and John Wayne stories, man. My aura is your mom bumping Sepultura. No quarter, tweeting at the end of the world, telling street jokes. The illest motherfucker that you ever could meet, folks. How do I sleep at night? Comfortably. Hope you're in the mood for some Impolite Company.
Welcome to Impolite Company. I'm your host, Chris Sear. Here we go. I was reading last week an article in the New York Times, and I hate that sentence. I didn't want to say that sentence. That is a sentence an asshole says. Oh, the other day I was reading in the New York Times. We get it. You read. You're well informed. You believe that news is real and that intelligent people should read the news and hold opinions about the current state of the world. We get it. Who are you showing off for? Oh, I read an article in the New York Times. Okay. So what? Maybe I read an article in the National Enquirer. I don't know why I'm attacking myself here, but I know how that sentence sounds, especially to like 43, 44% of our country. That's like, oh, the New York Slimes. Oh, the New York Crimes. Oh, the New York Limes. I don't know why limes. Maybe they hate British people. Maybe they like scurvy. I don't know. You know who I'm talking about. Your aunt and uncle who at the dinner table still haven't got a vaccine and they talk about it all the time. Hey, can you pass me the mashed potatoes? Also, I'm not getting Fauci's ouchie. Who the fuck came up with that bit of terrible marketing for little brunette soccer moms with bad glasses and giant teeth to say while they bounce around on stage at a conservative convention like a stripper who forgot her main job was to jump out of a cake and spin some tassels? I mean, she basically jumped out of a cake and spun some tassels, except instead of tassels, it was hyperbole and lies. But whatever, we don't need to talk about her. I just wanted you to know, in your heart of hearts, that I knew how it sounded when I said, last week I read an article in the New York Times. That being said, last week I put aside my copy of Infinite Jest. I put on my corduroy jacket with the patches on the sleeves. I lit a pipe with some good high-grade smoking tobacco, some pipe tobacco, obviously not chewing tobacco. I poured myself a cup of Earl Grey tea, not from a bag, loose tea, that was brought into this country by the very woman who grew the tea and dried it herself, so I can make sure that the money I paid for this tea went directly to her. Now, maybe she was forced to come into the country with that tea by a drug cartel who also smugged in like a few pounds of cocaine underneath the seat on the boat that she carried that tea across the ocean into this country. But I don't know. I can't help that. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. I can only do my best. But anyway, as I did all that, I put on Nocturnes by Chopin. I let that play for a minute. Enjoyed my tea. And I opened up the pages of my iPad. I opened it up to an article in the New York Times, The Record of Our Nation. And there it was. We do this topic every few years in this country because I think it's a topic that's reflective of who we are as a people, like more so than almost anything else Americans do. And it's a topic of zipper merging. There's an article in the New York Times on July 10th, if you're looking for it, 2021, depending on when you're listening to it. It might help if I tell you the year. I know, I infrequently update lately. I've been on the road with shows. I've had some stuff come up. So you get updated when I have a moment. And it's good for you. It just all builds up. Now I'm not just speaking to hear my own... Well, I am speaking just to hear my own voice. But that's not the only reason I'm doing this. So it's good for both of us. But anyway, in case you're like 2 years from now going back, oh, there's a new episode. This is 2021. But the article's about zipper merging. And if you don't know what zipper merging is, it's very simple. You're driving down a highway. You see a sign that says right lane ends in 2 miles because of construction. You're in the right lane. There's people to the left of you. You're both driving along. Zipper merging means you don't just get over because you see the sign. You go all the way until the right lane actually ends, and you merge over, and the 2 lanes become one. 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from the right lane, 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from the right lane, 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from the right lane, 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from the right lane, 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from the right lane, 1 car from the left lane, 1 car from... You probably got the picture by now. That's a zipper merge. And you do that because what that does is it reduces the need for people to lower their speed, and it keeps traffic moving. Like, you don't get to still keep going wrong at 60 miles an hour, but you don't have to drop down to 15. Maybe you keep going at about 30, and everybody gets where they're going faster. Zipper merging is proven. It is proven overall to be better for everyone on the road. Not just you in the moment, but people who are traveling behind you. Because everybody knows that traffic pileups, traffic problems, traffic stalls, they have an effect into the future. It's like, I don't know, there's nothing more you can do to affect the future other than having a child, right? Like, you have a child, you raise it, maybe you raise a complete piece of shit, he goes off in the world, he becomes a dictator, destroys a country, commits genocide, all kinds of evil things. That's you affecting the future with your child. Merging into traffic can be the same way. Like, your little genocidal asshole that you popped out of your loins is just you refusing to let someone over, thus causing traffic to pile up and creating a backup that lasts for 3 hours and goes back 20 miles. That's what happens when you don't obey the zipper merging rules, right? I saw a post on Twitter. A woman with all the self-righteousness she could muster posted, "I will make you hit every last cone on this highway before I let you over. Because I know you saw that sign about the lane ending when I saw it 2 miles ago." And she just posted it like she was the most right person in the world. And people were agreeing with her at first. And that's American, right? That's American. I'm in this lane. I was in this lane first. You're not fucking getting in front of me. You got to earn your right into this lane. And she's just like, oh, everybody's going to agree with me. And then she got dragged. Because people who know better, people who maybe drive more than she does, people who drive for a living, people who just read the fucking newspaper, people started dragging her. And not horribly dragging her. She didn't get doxxed and fired. She got dragged in the most loving way that a white woman in 2021 can be dragged on the internet, right? There are way worse ways to get dragged. But just everybody letting her know she's an idiot. She didn't care. Did not care. She's like, I will die on this hill. And that's America, man. There's a thing you can do which would benefit everyone. Everyone would get a little bit something. None of us would get to work as fast as we want to. We would get there faster overall as a people. It doesn't matter. We don't want that. We're not going to do that one little thing that would help everyone. We're going to instead fight for our position in line. And maybe we'll get out ahead. And everyone behind us will suffer a little. Because we got in that lane. We earned it. We worked. We got on the highway. We fought for our position in traffic. We expended the fuel to get into that lane. We're blocking it. Sometimes I've seen people do the thing where, well, not only am I going to protect my position here, I'm going to make sure nobody even gets in a position where they could get in front of me. I'm going to drive in the middle of both lanes. You ever see that asshole? The lane guardian. Usually it's a 16-wheeler. 18-wheeler. However many wheels those trucks. Optimus Prime. You know who I'm talking about. Those guys. Just guarding that lane, man. Not letting anybody over. And it's fucking terrible. It's stupid. But that's what we do in this country. I mean, the zipper merge is just student loan forgiveness on a higher level, right? You've seen the arguments, right? Like, unless you're a bank who knows you're going to lose money if the government all of a sudden forgives all this debt that was thrust upon 18-year-olds through predatory practices and misleading information and false expectations about the hope of a future economy where the profession they were being trained to go into wouldn't be flooded with hundreds of millions of other people trying to do the same thing. Unless you're one of those people, the argument is usually against student loan forgiveness. Well, why should people have their loans forgiven for college? I didn't have mine forgiven. I paid for my college out of my pocket. My parents paid for my college. I've paid my student loans off. I was smart enough to get scholarships and not need student loans. Even though the eradication of this debt would instantly free up money to go into other places of the economy, or it would help people improve their credit in such a way that they could contribute more to the economy. And whether you believe in capitalism or not, we live in a capitalist society. Until you change that, people need these tools to operate effectively in it. We know eradicating that debt would have a benefit to the economy as a whole. It would be unfair to me to do that. It would be unfair that I had to overcome an obstacle that someone else doesn't. And I get it. That does, to a degree, that does make sense. It's like, why did you work so hard when you could have slacked off a little and maybe gotten some debt forgiveness? Even though a lot of these people, they're not in debt because of anything they did wrong. They listened to the authority figures in their life at the time. Not everybody had parents who knew what student loans were. Not everybody had parents with college accounts. But everybody was told you need to go to college. Everybody was told, take out all the loans because once you have your degree, you'll make so much money. The loans won't matter. That'll just be a small cash outflow every month. Boy, were they wrong. And then on the other side also, you get poor people who would benefit from student loan erasure, right? Like the number of people with student loan debt in this country who never finished college because they were too poor to keep going. They had to work. Those people would benefit from this. A lot of them don't support programs where it's a blanket forgiveness because rich people might get that benefit. All of a sudden you're like, well, that's not fair. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot to stop someone else from getting something that maybe they don't need. We've suggested programs where maybe there's an income threshold. It's never good enough. There's always someone who's like, well, why is that the cutoff? When if I make $1 more, I'm not as important. Or even someone whose like income is almost non-existent looking at that income threshold going, that's still a lot of money. We don't do it. It's a thing that would benefit everyone, but it's unfair to us. That's the zipper merge. It's the vaccination debate, right? We know for a fact getting a COVID, oh man, if when I said we know for a fact, you said, whoa, hold on, no one knows anything for a fact, Chris, about this COVID vaccination, just fucking click stop. Click stop, go listen to Rogan, turn on Tucker, I don't know, whatever you do for your news. If the moment I start the sentence, we know for a fact that the COVID vaccination, and you're like, hold on, my asshole just puckered. Fuck you. Stop listening. I'll give you a second. For the rest of us, we know for a fact getting a COVID vaccination is the best way to stop this never-ending cycle of this pandemic. The Delta variant is brewing in unvaccinated people, and the breakthrough cases into vaccinated people are only as bad as they are because there's so many people walking around unvaccinated as little incubators to the virus. We know if all those people would have gotten vaccinated when they had the opportunity, we'd be almost out on the other side of this entirely. Instead, we're going to watch a bunch of people who, I'm not cold-hearted enough to say they deserve to die because they didn't get the vaccination. I'm not going to say they've had all this information at their fingertips. And the fact they didn't use it, that's on them. Because a lot of them were swindled. A lot of these people who didn't get vaccinated, they're just like the same as old people who paid roofing contractors to work on their house. And those roofing contractors weren't even from a real company. It was like a guy in a fez who said, write me a check and I'll fix your roof. And grandma was like, not my grandma. My grandma was too smart to fall for that. Like, she did some goofy things with money, but she didn't do that. But they were just like, I'll write you a check right now, young man. That's a nice hat. And then the person disappears with that money. We wouldn't tell that old person, well, fuck you. You should have looked them up with the Better Business Bureau at the Secretary of State's office. I'm not ready to do that with everyone who's unvaccinated. But a lot of people are just fucking selfish and stupid, right? We know for a fact getting that vaccination would be great. And everybody should do it. It benefits society as a whole. Even if you get the vaccinations and you still get a breakthrough case, it was better for society as a whole. You're not stabbing me with that needle. You're not giving me Fauci's ouchie. Fuck her. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm not going to go into it because I'll just get angrier. And my language will get worse. But that's the zipper merge, right? Get the vaccine, benefit everyone. No, I'm healthy. I'm not going to die. I'm going to just do what I want. That's America. It's America in 2020. We go through this every couple of years. Somebody pulls up one of these articles, and there's this argument about, well, you should get over as early as possible, even though that backs up traffic. I'm clearly angry about this. I don't know why. I mean, shit. Right now, zipper merging is the least of your problems driving around my town. I don't know what it's like in your town, but it is a free-for-all on the streets of St. Louis. There are, like, stop signs. They're not even suggestions at this point. They're artifacts of a prior civilization that had rules and order. Like, for the most part, stop signs in this city, they're an afterthought. Like, people go through them and they think, oh, hey, that was a stop sign back there. Huh, those are cute. The number of accidents we've seen just from people blowing through intersections and T-boning someone else blowing through an intersection. Or worse, T-boning someone who stopped, looked both ways, and started going, hoping that the other person would do the same thing at a four-way stop. That's crazy. Stop lights, non-existent. I've seen so many people racing down the main drags of our streets. It used to be after the bars closed, you knew you were going to see people blowing red lights as they drag raced home. Now it's any time of day. Any time of day. And it doesn't matter if, like, the street's empty or busy. They're just going through it. It is a free-for-all. So zipper merging is the least of our problems. I don't know. It's not Mad Max. But it's definitely Mad Libs. I wish I was better with coming up with, like, really good terms that would stick with society as a whole. That would be cool. Like, don't get me wrong, Frank Lutz is an asshole, but man, I would love to be able to have his penchant for naming things that just stick and create the zeitgeist, right? Like when he took the estate tax and decided one day to just call it the death tax, that was brilliant. Like evil brilliant, but also brilliant. The same poor people who want to turn down healthcare, who want to turn down economic assistance, all because they think someday they're going to be rich. That took those poor people and said, well, I'm going to die. I don't want to pay taxes when I die, even though they'd never be affected by it in their life. It turned them against a really logical tax on the transfer of wealth upon death. Anyway, if I had that kind of juice, I wouldn't be trying to make my way as a stand-up comic here in the Midwest at the tail end of stand-up comedy. Oh, Chris, do you really think this is the tail end of stand-up comedy? Have you seen TikTok? Man, you think about all the time you got high and you watched Rick and Morty. Why? Why didn't you just get high and flip through TikTok? Like that fits all of the needs you have. That fixes all of the needs you have at any given moment. So I don't know. Is it the tail end of stand-up? I guess we'll see. I sure think it is. I'm not the only one. I don't have an original thought in that. I just regurgitate all of the thoughts that I've already gurgitated. I don't know. I've been thinking about some things. If I owned a brothel, I would make sure it had an ice cream shop with it. For one, that'd be cool. Because, like, what goes better with sex than ice cream? And if you're paying for sex, like, sex works is work. It's whatever. I respect both the client and the purveyor in that scenario. But I am saying if you're paying for sex, there's probably a little bit of an emotional need that needs to be filled. And the only thing that fills emotional voids as well as sex is ice cream. Put them together. That's horizontal marketing, or vertical, or reverse cowgirl, or Congress of the Crow. However you're gonna do it, it's that kind of marketing. I would put the ice cream parlor right in there with the brothel. I would call it Bone and Cone. That's a good name. Bone and Cone, where every bottom can get their toppings. It's beautiful marketing. The copy writes itself. Avoid the word creamery at all costs. Don't use the word creamery. And you could use the toppings. Like, the toppings aren't just for ice cream. You could use the toppings on the brothel side too. Right? Like, I'm not into it, so I don't get it. It just sounds sticky and messy. But I know a lot of people love to put strawberry preserves on each other before they grind and slide. They want to get that whipped cream up in them and not remember to wash that whipped cream out of them before they get, like, a yeast infection or something. But there's some cross purposes for the products you buy. That's useful. I don't know. Office Depot wishes it had that kind of multi-use to their inventory. Bone and Cone. I like it. That's yours. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and sit on that idea, lock it away in the old patent vault, and never make it. If you have the financial means and the wherewithal to get out there and start your own brothel and ice cream parlor combo, like a KFC Taco Bell. Literally, like a Taco Bell. Never mind. There's a taco joke in there somewhere for you. But if you've got the money and the means, you want to start that up, you do it. Just once you start it up, send me a postcard. Let me know how it's going. Give me both, like, how you build the business. Like, send me some pictures of you building out the space. Send me a video of your opening, not like a video of anybody in no in flagrante videos, but like a video of your opening. Not of your opening, not of your grand opening, of the first day of business. Like, people, like, coming to the door. God damn, you get what I'm saying. I don't want a dirty video. I want a video of like them cutting the ribbon there's just no good way. There's no good way to tell you what I'm looking for there. But also send me a video after 6 months of operations. Let me know you're still in business. And, I'll send you a coffee mug. You open that business. Let me know how it goes. Bonus points if you figure out how to work in a weed dispensary in that too. I'll definitely cough up a coffee mug for that idea. I am not going to open that business myself. I don't think I'm at the stage in my life where opening a brothel is what I'm going to do for my future. I'm already trying to be a stand-up comic. I mean, you talk about a lost cause. Opening up the world's first, like, really sex-positive, worker-friendly, labor-aware, fair trade brothel is probably not in my future. I did buy a new car, though, and I'm not saying buying a new car is like opening a brothel, but you still have to deal with dicks, right? Boom. That was kind of a long walk that I just planned in my head. I didn't even scribble that on this notepad in front of me. No, I did. I bought a new car last month, and it's cool. Like, it was a process. Like, I try to make this as not a process as possible, right? I knew what car I wanted. I wanted the current model of the car I was already driving. I was driving a 2015 Mazda CX-5. I put about 150,000 miles on it. It was a great car. It got me back and forth across the country several times. It got me all around the Midwest, more times than I can count. Like, I put some miles on that thing, and it never gave me any problems. But the mileage is high. And as things were starting back up, I just wanted something newer, something more comfortable to ride in, and also that I wasn't going to worry the transmission would crap out on me. So I looked around at all the local dealerships. I figured out who had the car in stock. I looked at the prices they were charging. And one of the byproducts of the pandemic was that there wasn't a lot of haggling to be done with cars right now, right? Like new and used cars, there's not a great stock of them to choose from. So the price on the car is pretty much the price you're going to pay because someone else wants the car. Like, there was some wiggle room, and I got them to lower it a little when I finally went in. But, like, for the most part, I knew the options, the color. I knew it was on their lot. And I had my financing, like, not just, like, pre-qualified, but, like, all set up. All I had to do was call the finance company, let them know the price of the car, and they would write the check. I went in, and car dealers are incapable of making this transaction easy. I think they're just physically and mentally I think there is a mindset in a lot of people. Like, you're probably the different one, right? Like, you're probably not the person I'm talking about if you sell cars, because you're listening to me, and that means you're fucking awesome. And awesome people don't think this way. But for other car salesmen, car dealers, I think there's something in their brains that just does not let a thing be simple. It took me 4 hours to buy this car. I was going to go do it on my lunch break, right? Like, I had all my paperwork in order. I had the title for my old car, which was my trade-in. I knew exactly what it should have been worth, as long as they came back within like $500 or $600 either way of the number I had. I was like, that's fair. Let's just fucking do it. I hate buying a car. You're going to win a little bit of money from me. This should have been like a no-brainer. I didn't need a test drive other than to see it drive up to the lot, to the door of the building on the lot. I didn't need to like kick under the hood or anything. I don't know shit about cars. I'm going to bring it back tomorrow if there's a big problem with it. It's brand new. There shouldn't be. Like, this was a no-brainer. Like, this was a free commission. The guy could have got his commission from me and been out in time for lunch when I showed up at noon. 4 hours, man. Like, I brought in my used car. They're like, well, we're going to go check it out. I'm like, yeah, man, go do it. Let's fill out the paperwork while they do that. That part probably took about 45 minutes because the salesman was like, all right, well, this is easy. He tried to do the thing where he's like, well, can I take your ID to show to my manager to show you're serious about buying it? I was like, no, I'm not financing through you. You don't need my ID until we transfer the title. I'll show it to the guy when he types that up. And he's like, all right, well, I still need you to fill out the finance app. I'm like, no, we don't need to do that. Like, there was a whole thing. Like, it was just like, he's unable to not click off his flow chart, right? Like, and if you work in tech, you know people like this. If you've ever called a helpline, you know people like this. They have to follow the flow chart. If you deviate from the flow chart, you've rocked their world, and holy fuck, monkeys might come flying out of the refrigerator and stab them in the face because now the unexpected can happen. And I think that's how some car salesmen are. Like, I'm not saying they're inherently dishonest, but I'm saying they're incapable of deviating from the norm. They can't have an easy transaction. So we go through all this. Finally, they bring the car up. They take away my old one. And I go over to the finance guy. I don't need the finance guy. Like, the finance guy really just, it's also the person who transfers the title at this dealership, though. And I don't know if it's like that everywhere. I buy a new car every 6 years or so. Usually because I've wrecked one. This was one of the few times that car was intact when I traded it in. Anyway, so we go see the finance guy, and I'm filling out all the title transfer work paper, and he's like, all right, well, let me take care of this, and I'll come get you. And they ran my credit anyway. And I know because I get pings when people run my credit, and they ran it like 11 times, which, whatever. Like, that's like, I don't know, what is it, 10 points a ding, or however that formula works? Like, that'll lower your credit for the day. And I'm like, hey, man, I talked to the receptionist. I'm like, hey, I think they just ran my credit, and I already have financing. I don't need them to run my credit. And she's like, oh, no, they probably didn't. I'm like, yeah, right here, they did. Impossible to just have a simple transaction. And finally, the guy, like, I think he realized he fucked up. Because it was like another half hour before he would even, like, come back and be like, oh, hey, we got everything squared away. He sits down and he's like, well, I have to run your credit regardless before we can give you the car. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to deal with it. I just want the car and leave right now. I think half of the things that happen in dealerships just happen because of attrition, right? Like they wait you out and then you get dumb and you're like, whatever. And if the worst that happened is for the next month or so, my credit was like dinged because they ran it for 10 times, who cares? I just want to leave. But again, incapable of a simple transaction. At this point, he knows he fucked up. I know he fucked up. I'm not going to run him over the coals for it. Let's just sign the paperwork and get this done. Give me my new title and my lien. Well, not the lien. I guess it comes from someone. You know what I mean. So he sets the price of the car in front of me for me to sign the title paperwork, which that price controls like your sales tax and all that shit, right? My trade-in value is fine. I look at that. And then I notice the price is something like $2,000 more. And I'm like, what's this? He's like, oh, well, that's for gap insurance. I was like, no, I said I didn't want that. My insurance pays for that. He's like, oh, well, you need it. I'm like, no, I don't. Take that off. And then there's another charge on there. And it's like, oh, that's for your bumper-to-bumper warranty for 200,000 miles. I'm like, yeah, no, those are rip-offs. I don't want it. He's like, you don't want the warranty? I'm like, no. Come on, man. I've been over this. I told the other guy, I just want to buy the car and leave. Incapable of making a simple transaction. And I know this is a boring story, but I just want to tell it. And it's my podcast, and you can fast forward through it. This story probably took about 4.5 minutes. I probably should have told you that before the 4.5 minutes I spent telling the story, so you could fast forward. Anyway, the point is, 4.5 hours to buy this car. A car where all I needed was to have a check sent to them. It was the stupidest fucking thing. I bought a Scion 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't remember. However long ago I owned a Scion. That was my favorite car buying experience. Because that was a no-haggle price, right? I walked into a dealership, and my credit's terrible because I draw a blank on making payments. Now the bank does all that. You just tell the bank the day your payment's due, and it takes care of all that shit for the rest of your life. It wasn't like that for the longest time. You had to remember to mail shit off, and I'm terrible about that. So there wasn't a lot they could try and upsell me on. But I walked into the Toyota dealership. I said, I like that Scion XD. And they were like, all right, well, let's run your credit. They're like, holy shit, you qualify. Here you go. It's that price. I'm like, oh, that's a good price. And they're like, all right, you want this car now? I was like, yes, I do. Do you have a trade-in? Hell no, I wrecked the fuck out of that car. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that shit happens. Well, I guess since you don't have a trade-in, that's even easier. Sign here. I signed there. And they're like, all right, man, you'll start paying next month, and your title will come in the mail. I'm like, holy fuck, thanks. Hour and a half to buy that Scion. That was the best car buying experience ever. It was a fun car. It was not a great car. That thing started making noise within the first 2.5 years, but it got the job done. Anyway, it was just frustrating. And it's like, I should have tried Carvana, but I wanted a new car, not a used one. And I was like, at this point in my life, I deserve a new car. I got the money. I might as well do it. The car is great. I do love the car. I'm not gonna lie, man. That car is sweet. It has so many future functions. Here's the thing I didn't do. I talk about, like, I had all my ducks in a row. I had all my... Why are ducks in a row? Like, I don't need ducks. But, you know, I had everything lined up. I knew what I was doing. I talk about it like that. But here's what I didn't do. My favorite thing about my old car was it had motorized seat adjusters on the driver's side. Right? Which does not sound like a big deal. But it was pretty sweet. Like, you can make minute adjustments with it. It was very sensitive. It had, you could raise and lower the seat. You could scoot the seat forward and back. You could change the tilt. You could change the lumbar support, all with button pushes. And you just sat there, pressed the button, and did it. I did not think that the new car would not have that. Because in my brain, all cars have that. It's like electric windows. I haven't seen a car with a handle to lower and raise the window in years. I assume they still exist. Because they have to, right? Like, that's, I don't know. It blows my mind that no one would have motorized windows. It blows my mind equally as much that you would not have motorized seat adjustment. And I didn't figure that out until maybe a couple weeks later, I was going to adjust my seat lower and up and down, not back and forth. And it's a lever that you got to pump like you're, I don't know, working one of those train cars with the pulleys on them. What are those called? No, I keep wanting to say Pinkney car, and I know that's not it, but it starts with a P, right? Pullman car, right? Isn't that? I don't know. Whatever those things are called. It's like you're working one of those in a Bugs Bunny cartoon or raised and lowered seat. That's annoying. But everything else about it is cool. It's got like all the future functions. It does this thing where it stays in the lane for you. And I have irresponsibly, I know I talked about everybody just driving all free for all earlier. Sometimes that's me. I'm not gonna lie. I have irresponsibly tested this thing out on the highway when it's empty. Because I've been on the road for the last couple months, like gone to a lot of places, and to get there like early enough, I've left when our highways are fairly empty. And yeah, I've been up around 60 miles an hour. I'm like, I want to test the lane awareness. And it does. It just ping pongs you back and forth between the white lines. The moment those lines get too faded, it stops doing that though. You should be aware of that. The cruise control is awesome. Like, you don't really have to set it for any specific speed because it automatically looks at the car in front of you and tries to stay 2-3 car lengths, however you have it set, from behind them. So you could set your cruise control at like 90, and if the traffic in front of you is only going 60, it's only going 60, and it's staying far enough back from them. Don't do that. Like, set your cruise control for the legal speed limit. Anyway, those feature functions are cool. It's got a whole bunch of others. I'm like, oh, I could sit here and play with this car for a long time before I ever actually learn how to drive it right. And it's cool. I don't know. I didn't broadcast it when I bought it though, because that seemed a bit much to me. Like, I don't know. Anytime I buy something lately, I don't want to take a picture of it and put it on social media. For one, I don't want people robbing me. I think that's a legitimate concern. But also, people are having a hard time. I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy when good things happen to you. And if you want to like broadcast to the world that something good has happened to you, you should do that if that makes you feel better. But like at the same time, I don't want to be the one asshole in my feed when everyone else posting, oh, I lost my job. Oh, I lost my house. The bank took it. And then all of a sudden I'm like this asshole in a sombrero holding up a bottle of champagne going, I bought a new Mazda. Zoom, zoom. That seems a bit much. So I kept it a secret. I worked with a headliner who was really Trumpy, like super Trumpy. You don't always get to choose, man. Anytime somebody's like, oh, you should refuse to work with people like that, I'm like, you should pay my mortgage, right? Like, performing is one of the few jobs where people expect you to not make money because you have to associate with terrible people, right? Like, I've worked in restaurants, and I gotta tell you, if you pull up CaseNet on half the employees in the back of a house at a restaurant, you're gonna pull some shit. Like, you're gonna find out some people have done some fairly terrible things. We have never once said to a waitress or a waiter, hey, man, the guy washing dishes for your restaurant, he showed his dick to some kids. You should quit. To show that you refuse to work with those people. Fuck no. The restaurant should probably fire that guy. That waitress or waiter needs to make a living. And performing's like that, man. If you're not at a certain level, you don't control who you work with. You want money. You need to pay bills. So you take the money from the people and you try your best not to be the person who showed their dick to a bunch of kids. That's an extreme example. But you know, like the millions of little things you could also not do to not be that person. You just try to be better and whatever, get paid. Anyway, so yeah, the club was like, do you want to work this weekend? I was like, yeah. I didn't even know who the headliner was until it got closer, and then like super Trump. But whatever, I did my time. Most of the audience loved him. A few people in the audience loved me. One couple really loved me. Like, I'm not tooting my own horn, but if I was into cuckolding a married couple in Arkansas and not worried they might shoot me, that would have been the opportunity. But they were cool, whatever. Everybody who liked me was nice. Even the people who didn't like me were nice enough. They were just like, man, I don't know about that part where you said you might like blow a dude. I didn't say I'd blow a dude. I said it's always a possibility I'd blow a dude. You'd have to hear the joke. There's context. But anyway, the Trumpy dude is talking to all of his like hundreds of fans in the parking lot, and I'm getting my car. And he yells to me, he's like, hey, that's a nice car. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I'll take the compliment. I didn't build it, but I did choose it. So give me that compliment. And then he yelled, yeah, that's like a $30,000 Mazda. And I'm like, wow. Wow, dude. Why you gotta yell that out to this entire parking lot full of people in the South, all of whom have guns and could take this car from me if they wanted to? I was like, that seemed uncalled for. He also told me I should stop wearing a jacket when I'm on stage. I don't know what's up with that. That's maybe I should. It was like 60 or 70 degrees that day though, and the club was terribly cold, so I wore a jacket. I don't know. Sometimes people give you advice. Sometimes people want to tell you that joke. But anyway, that's my new car story. I bought it, and there it is. It's fun. I had a show in Wichita that I drove out for, and that headliner was good. Sometimes you work with good people, sometimes you work with, I don't want to say bad people, only because I don't want to say it. And I drove out to Wichita, and there's a billboard I saw that said, what is it? How did they word it? It said, porn is violence. Read your Bible. And I don't know if they've ever read the Bible. When I saw that, I was like, man, anything that encourages you to put down Pornhub and pick up a Bible instead, they have either not read the Bible or not seen Pornhub. Because on Pornhub, at least they tell you the incest is your stepsister. In the Bible, it's just your actual sister. There's a whole bunch of things in the Bible that if you believe it's a literal word of God inspired by the Holy Spirit, that's some horrible shit. And in the Bible or in Pornhub, they tell you everything's role play and should only be done between consenting adults who respect each other. Sort of however much you can respect someone while you pee on them. In the Bible, they don't have that kind of warning. That was fun. Truck stops are back. I stopped in a truck stop somewhere between here and which I really don't know the names of the towns. It was between here and Wichita. The only thing I thought was weird is to get to Wichita from St. Louis, you don't drive down Highway 70 the whole way. So it was Kansas, but it was pretty Kansas, not boring flat Kansas when you go to when you cross over to go into Colorado. But one of the truck stops, I love the hodgepodge of things you can find at truck stops. One of them had a gold foil, red letter, leather-bound edition of the Bible right next to shot glasses that said "Born to Fuck." And I was like, that's America. You can't get past that. Some of them started having roller food again. I tried not to eat any of it because I didn't want to shit my pants while I was in my new car. That's important. When you buy a new car, don't shit your pants while you're in it. I discovered a medicine ball from Starbucks. I've been going to Starbucks for however long I've been going to Starbucks. Did not know about this. One of the cool headliners I worked with in another club. See, they're not all assholes. You don't get to choose, but sometimes you luck out. He was like, order me a medicine ball. And I was like, what the fuck is a medicine ball? He's like, hidden menu item. I'm like, what? Those aren't real. I've never ordered a hidden menu item. He's like, oh, you got to know this one. It's 4 different teas and some lemon and some honey. And it's all in, I don't know if it's actual lemon. It might be lemon tea, but it tastes good. You drink it before a show and your voice is like, oh, I could sing opera right now if I were into opera. I didn't sing opera, but that's my new pre-show tradition. I get one of those when you can, because thanks to supply chain problems, you can't always get all the teas. Starbucks is out of a lot of things. Don't fucking complain to the barista at a Starbucks that they're out of something. I guarantee you, the 16-year-old girl making your coffee has no control over when the truck with the breakfast sandwiches shows up. So don't get testy. If you find yourself getting testy with the barista, do something else. I don't know. Just instead, put a couple dollars on the counter to make up for the fact you're an asshole. They'll forget once they get the money. That's one of the beauties of life. You can buy your way out of awkward situations in most cases. And I don't know, go to an Asian grocery store, spend some money on Kit Kats, right? I'm going to pretend I'm transitioning to this smoothly, but this is really going to be an edit because last month I recorded something like 14 minutes of me talking about Kit Kats, and I didn't finish laying down the episode. So it's like, I might as well use it now. I'm not going to put all 14 minutes here, But you're not even going to notice, so it doesn't matter. It'd probably be like 5. There are a lot of different kinds of Kit Kats. I went to a H Mart in Chicagoland a couple years back, and that's when I first discovered all these Kit Kats. And I know I should have known. Like, you can go on the internet and you can see people unboxing those collections of treats they get monthly sent to them of tasty desserts from other lands, or I don't know, some white people thing where you Columbus a product that's been available to an entire population of people forever, but it's new to you, so you're discovering it. And so I should have known. I could have looked up these at any point. But man, we walked down a candy aisle and all kinds. There were like green tea Kit Kats, there were seaweed Kit Kats, mocha Kit Kat. There's mocha Kit Kats now. That's made its way into the mainstream gas station Kit Kat. There were wasabi Kit Kats, soy ginger Kit Kats. There's a lot of Kit Kats. Like, I looked up, there's something to do with the licensing of Kit Kat in America versus overseas. That means we get like the boring regular flavors and occasionally something cool and unique. And they get like strawberry Kit Kats, which are the most amazing Kit Kat. Like, strawberry Kit Kats, if you ever get a chance to have one, just fucking buy a box. Like, get them all. But yeah, there's like more Kit Kat flavors than anything. And I was talking in the last episode about like societal norms and things you're just supposed to know. You've seen other people do it, you follow suit. And I talked about it in the sense of like going to open mics and learning how the ropes of any performing community works. Kit Kats are one of these things that fall into those societal norms, right? Like, what is the meme? If you really want to piss off someone, show them this, and it's a 4-strip bar of Kit Kat where someone's just bit into it like it was a sandwich and taken a bite out of like 3 of the bars at once instead of breaking them off piece by piece. No one's going to kill you if you do that. Like, you can eat that Kit Kat however you want. You can break all those bars apart, you can stack them up, and then take a bite out of all 4 of them at once, just Dagwood style, if you want to. But we're conditioned to look at a Kit Kat and go, well, the lines are here. We're clearly supposed to break this apart, and we're supposed to eat them one at a time and savor them. Nothing tells you got to do that. And I think that's interesting, right? Like, that there are people who would actually be enraged when they see how you ate your Kit Kat versus how they were taught to eat Kit Kats. And there's a lesson in there about something. Like, what that lesson is, I don't know. I'm not super smart. Like, I was just amazed by the variety of Kit Kats and wanted to find a life lesson there. Maybe that lesson is, no matter how you eat it, it's still the same thing going in your mouth. Right? No matter what the method is. The end result is a savory, sweet chocolate with a crispy cookie center that crunches when you bite it and gives you a bit of pleasure and makes you remember those Halloweens where you went to the house that gave you full Kit Kats and not just a fun size with the 2 half bars in it, like the cock teas of Kit Kats, I don't know, whatever the woman version of cock tease is, where dudes are like, oh, I'm going to bang you, and then they don't. Actually, I'm going to 100% guess that a guy going to a woman, oh, I'm going to bang you, is never a good thing. So let's just not even imagine that scenario. But whatever it is that leads to a disappointed woman, or a disappointed non-binary individual, or a disappointed just any human being that they're not getting the pleasure that they thought they were going to get, that's what those little halvesy Kit Kats are at Halloween. I am way off the rails now. I got to thinking about the disappointment that, man, when you found that house that gave you the full Kit Kat, though, the Kit Kat, right? It wasn't even Kit Kat. It was like Kit squared, cat squared. You could foil that out and get the full quadratic equation of how Kit Kats are formed for it. You could, no matter how you eat that, you're getting the same ingredients. And it gives you that same feeling like you were back in that childhood where you got that full Kit Kat bar. So how you eat it is just this weird construct that society's created to put you in a box and control your behavior. And that's what I think we need to break as a... I don't know. I felt bad when I listened to that open mic episode because I was like, oh man, there's going to be someone who just wants to go out and have fun at an open mic. And here I am putting my rules on them. And I realize that's wrong. So I guess that's where I'm going with the Kit Kat thing. There are green tea Kit Kats. They don't sound like they taste good. Like, right? Like, I mean, I guess if you're not American and you're used to everything, you're not used to everything being super sweet. They're pretty good. But they're like a little bitter. Oh, I those different versions of... There was like a cookie and cream Kit Kat that tasted like it had Oreos in it. I just hiccuped. Anyway, point being, if you're pissed off about what I told you could and couldn't do at an open mic, ignore it. Grab a Kit Kat. Bite into it like it's... Grab 4 Kit Kats. Stack them on top of each other. Bite into it like it's an apple. I'll give you a better example. You know those Terry's dark chocolate oranges? You're supposed to smack them. That breaks them into pieces. You open it and you eat them one wedge at a time. I like to just eat those like it's an actual orange. Just bite into it. That'll make somebody freak out. They're like, holy shit, what are you doing? It'll hurt your teeth. Just so you know. Anyway, yeah, go to the open mic. Eat your Kit Kats how you want. Play Pearl Jam's Black as much as you want. There are no societal norms. You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell that was an edit. But yeah, if you're going to get mad about the Starbucks barista, just go buy some of those crazy Tic Tacs. Kit Kats, not Tic Tacs. There are probably weird versions of Tic Tacs out there too. Right? Like, I was thinking about those Kit Kats again, and they're still, like, I Googled it to see some of the flavors of Kit Kats that are out there, and we'll just never get them. We're stuck with them. But I bet somewhere there's also Tic Tacs that are nuts. There's probably pizza-flavored Tic Tacs, right? Like, you got a bad case of coffee breath, pop a couple pizza-flavored Tic Tacs, and now you got pepperoni breath instead. And that'll get you laid. Maybe. I don't know. Does pepperoni breath get you... This is dumb. I just didn't want to waste that Kit Kat material. So you get it. Being back on the road's been weird. I'll tell you this and I'll get out of here. I told you when I bought my car, like there's a serious, like, it's a seller's market for used cars and cars, right? If you try to rent a car, you know what I'm talking about. There are no rental cars. Because during quarantine, all the rental car places sold off their stock because no one was renting them to go anywhere. And this computer chip shortage that we're experiencing means they're not making a lot of new cars, and also nobody's selling their old cars. So there's no rental cars. So like the whole car market's nuts. You know who is buying cars? Fucking Tesla owners. God, is there anything worse than a Tesla owner? Like, I know I started off this show talking about how the most pretentious person is probably the guy who sits around going, I read an article in the New York Times last week. That's me, I know. But that's not the most pretentious. The most pretentious person is the self-important asshole who drives a Tesla. And I know. Invariably, this happens. Someone listening to this show, someone listening to me right now, who was otherwise a fan of mine until right now, is like, oh, wait a minute. I drive a Tesla. I'm not a self-important asshole. You probably don't sound like that. I'm racist, I guess, about Teslas. You're probably the exception. You're probably the one person who drives a Tesla who's not a self-important asshole. There's also a high probability you're wrong and you are a self-important asshole and you just haven't figured it out yet. Because, I don't know, maybe you're the boss of the company you own and people have to kiss your ass and you've mistaken sycophancy for actual affection and respect. And I almost feel bad for you that that's what you're experiencing. Hopefully that's not you. Hopefully you're just a cool person who's like, I like the logo. It looks like one of those blades you hold in your hand where you can like shiv someone real hard and make them die. Like, because you get them in the kidneys and you can't fix that. You'll die before the paramedics ever even show up. Most people who drive Teslas don't talk like that. But I don't like Teslas. I think Teslas are just a sign of wealth, right? Like they're just saying you can afford $80,000, $90,000 to blow on a car. A car should only cost $30,000. This is just like, it's all relative. But anyway, my biggest problem with Teslas is they just explode for no reason. Like, if you think that's a myth, you should Google it. Like, that's a rabbit hole you can go down. Just fucking Google it right now. Teslas explode. You could be like, you'll be in your house minding your own business, and your neighbors, they drive a Tesla, they have it parked in the parking pad. They're sitting in their living room, like, I don't know, watching The Big Bang Theory or something stupid, smelling their own assholes. Never thinking we should smell each other's asshole and make it a loving thing. They're just each trying to smell their own asshole. And all of a sudden, one of them's like, my asshole smells like burning rubber and lithium-ion batteries. And one of the others like, that's weird. Those are 2 ingredients that go into making a Tesla. And they'll go and look, and all of a sudden, their Tesla's exploded for no reason. Fucking Elon, he can't figure that shit out. Like, he may have tanked the entire cryptocurrency market, but he still can't make a car that doesn't explode. Don't sue me. I'm not saying every Tesla explodes. I'm just saying it's a thing they do. Anyway, people are buying them. And I was driving to Chicago for a show at Zany's up there. And I don't want to kill myself often. But I'll tell you, man, when you're sitting on a highway next to an 18-wheeler, one of those Optimus Prime trucks, and it's got an entire trailer full of Tesla, whatever the plural of Tesla is, it's got an entire trailer full of them next to you. There's a thought in your head that pops up going, you know what, I don't necessarily want it in my life right now, but if I did, I could ruin 10 other people's lives right now. Maybe a Peloton van, too. That's also something that would annoy someone. Right? Like, I don't know. Don't do it. Don't hurt yourself. But, woo. Anyway, the market must be doing good, because I'm seeing them all over now. I see them way more in my neighborhood and on the highway than I used to. And they still all drive like assholes. Like, every joke we used to make about BMWs, you can also make about Teslas. Except for you. If you drive one, you're awesome. No one should hurt your Tesla. That's your baby. I don't know. That was probably irresponsible to even joke about. I mean, it's the thoughts that were in my head, but whatever. Like, I guess you're not always supposed to talk about your own experiences because it could offend someone else. That's next episode. Next episode, we'll talk about woke culture as much as we want. Oh, joy. That'll be so much fun. Anyway, this is Impolite Company. I have been Chris here. Hey, I don't know when you're listening to this. I got shows all summer long. The World Series of Comedy, I'm competing in a bunch of rounds for that. So, like, I think the next one's in Colorado Springs at the beginning of August. I'll be at Helium for an actual weekend of shows here in St. Louis, as well as their competition. And Impolite Company, the live show, is in downtown St. Louis on the third Friday of every month. You can find out all about that on social media. On Facebook at Impolite STL, on Twitter at Impolite STL. Or you can follow my personal Twitter at Chris D, as in David, Cyr, C-Y-R. Hopefully you know how to spell that. It's right there in front of you. It's also Chris D. Cyr on Instagram. It'll be fun. I've got a bunch of road shows. I'm out of town a lot, summer and fall so far. We'll see what winter looks like. Who knows? We might all be locked in our basements because your uncle won't get the vaccination and COVID-22 rears its head in January. So I'm not planning too far ahead. That is definitely a laugh of frustration, not a laugh of, boy, I think it sure is funny how we're witnessing the end of this country. Anyway, boy, that was a up note to end it on. Regardless, it's Impolite Company. I'm your host, Chris Cyr. Just remember, whatever you do, do it for you. There are no gods, no masters, and I have no catchphrase. I should write one someday. When the archaeologists dig out all these MP3s from a coffee can in my backyard, storing MP3s, they're going to be like, this dude should have had a catchphrase. Alright, whatever. I'll record another episode in a week or two here. Peace out.
That you ever could meet, folks. How do I sleep at night? Comfortably. Hope you're in the mood for some impolite company.